HAR.com was already a valuable tool, but once we were able to establish a relationship with our realtor, we had access to premium features that allowed us to feel much more educated. He brought tremendous experience, deep knowledge. I don't think we could have gotten through it without him.
Good morning, Texas Realtors. What an incredible morning it is. You guys are bringing the energy, the passion, and the commitment.
You are the strongest grassroots advocacy force in the state of Texas. You are the voice for Texas real estate. And when we stand together, we make a big impact.
We were able to sit down and talk about the issues that we are prioritizing this legislation, some of them being housing affordability, private property tax, transparency, and water infrastructure. We were able to discuss issues that they were concerned about as well.
We are here today at the Capitol for Realtor Day at the Capitol. We show up, we have meetings all day with Texas legislators, and we really have great conversations about the issues and the legislative topics that are important to us for home ownership, for property owners' rights, and this is the day where the rubber meets the road for realtors.
I invest in TreePack because it's the right thing to do. I invest in my clients, I invest in our industry, and if I didn't, it would be sticking my head in the sand and waiting for someone else to do what I need to do. If we're not at the table with the politicians, we're on the menu.
What I really like about this global dinners that we donate to TreePack is that we have a chance to learn about other cultures. With Houston being such a diverse market with all these other cultures, why not know more about the people that we serve, helping you find homes, that they're getting together, having a meal together, and learning about it. So I'm really excited that these global dinners come, giving us the experience to know where other people come from, to better serve them, and at the same time donating to a great cause in TreePack.
Being a first-time home buyer, I wanted to make sure that I was able to get into a home that would not stress me out. Through HAR.com, my realtor found me some down payment assistance, and that made it a lot more affordable to purchase a home.
Good morning and welcome to Member Focus Monday. I'm Christina Schaefer, Director of Social Media and Sponsorships for HAR. We've been highlighting Realtor Safety Month in September, and today we're focusing on a side of safety that's just as important as physical safety, cybersecurity. Whether it's protecting your client's data, safeguarding your devices, or recognizing a phishing scam before it costs you, staying safe online is critical in today's market. Joining me today is HAR's Director of IT and Security, Edward Moncur. He's going to walk us through the risks realtors face and the steps you can take to protect yourself, your clients, and your business. Welcome back to the program, Edward.
Good morning, Christina, and thanks for having me here again.
Absolutely. I love these check-ins with you because there's always something new. It seems like a common occurrence that we see different things pop up, and sometimes there's confusion about what exactly we're looking at. So I'm glad you're here to break it down for us. For anyone who hasn't heard from you before, though, Edward, can you start with telling us a little bit about your role at HAR and what you do when it comes to security?
Sure. I'm the Director of IT and Cybersecurity. In my role, I lead the team with the responsibility of managing HAR's information technology assets. The approach I tend to take is one of finding balance meeting the technology demands of our staff and members today while preparing for the challenges of tomorrow. And security informs virtually every part of what we do, but in ways hopefully that are least intrusive to staff productivity or the member experience. And in a typical day, that could mean collaborating with other staff to plan, roll out, migrate, or decommission systems. And sometimes it means security awareness training for staff or interviews such as the one we have today.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, we talk a lot about physical safety. We had a great conversation last week with Mike Wong. But how big of a risk is cybersecurity for realtors?
The risk is huge. Few industries have the exposure to the internet that real estate does. The nature of the business and the requirement for publicly available information opens the door to individual risks for the average realtor. Many of our members use social media for marketing and branding purposes daily. We also find that emails and text messages will exceed in-person or phone conversations in the typical transaction. So if an attacker can intercept, redirect, or impersonate at any stage of these essential communications, it can have a real-world impact. And whether that's from personal reputational harm, company brand damage, legal issues, or financial losses through fraud and extortion.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of times, and this is, I think, just habit across industries, we may not pay attention to something as much until we find out that it might impact the dollars, right? The financial impact. And there's huge financial impact in real estate. So thank you for that. So what are some of the most common online threats that real estate professionals face today?
The main threats have remained the same over the past few years, believe it or not. But they've shifted from time to time in the order, frequency, and use. So social engineering, phishing, malware, account takeovers, and business email compromise are the most common. What's concerning now is how these methods are being boosted by the power of AI. AI can craft emails in perfect English, tailored to a specific person or organization, and even using industry-specific terms. It can generate professional-looking logos and branding that make scams appear more legitimate. And then we have AI deepfakes, which are audio and video generated to impersonate someone, and it has advanced to the point of being indistinguishable from the voice or likeness of a loved one or a business associate. So the result that we have here is that these attacks are harder to detect and defend against, even with well-established best practices in place.
So you mentioned phishing scams, and it seems like they're everywhere. What are some of the red flags agents should look out for?
Great question. Urgency in tone is one of the most obvious ones, and you can say, hey, our business is fast moving, and so there's always an urgent tone. But urgency in tone and a combination of certain actions that may be uncharacteristic for your role or uncharacteristic to be communicated in that method. Unprompted contact from someone representing a financial institution and asking for verification of account transactions, especially in text messages. We also find that unexpected notifications of e-contracts, so your inbox says, hey, please complete this, or here's the documents ready for your review, or a countersign request in the DocuSign format, with the template, and the colors are typical in the industry. Also, any mention of gift cards and cryptocurrency, it sounds silly, but you'd be surprised how many people go around purchasing gift cards because the CEO asked them to do it. And then finally, money transfer instructions to someone in your contacts, but using a new phone number or email address. And we see this is very common with the Zelle money transfer service, which most people don't know until it's too late. It's the equivalent of taking money out of your account and handing it to someone. So once that transfer is gone, it's not coming back.
Yeah. Again, going back to last week with our safety task force chair, Mike Wong, he mentioned, taking your time and vetting leads for your personal safety. But it's very similar to what you're saying now. As consumers, we want something, we want it now. But, when you're trying to protect yourself, whether it be your physical safety or your business online, it sounds like just taking your time is so important.
Absolutely. Especially if you're on your mobile device, I would recommend don't carry out the most significant transactions while you're driving or distracted or otherwise on a mobile device. Take some time, let it breathe, focus, and then proceed.
Yeah, wonderful. So what steps should realtors take to protect their clients' personal and financial information?
So we're going to start with some of the simplest first. And simple doesn't mean that folks really abide by it. So I'm going to say enable password protection on all your devices, especially laptops. With the AI craze that we're going through at the moment, there's some productivity gains to be had, but we don't want to do it at the risk of security, especially client data security. So don't upload documents with sensitive client information to any of the AI chatbots. Doing so can potentially breach the client data. Also, advise your new clients on the risks of wire fraud and what they should look out for by way of communications that are going to be typical for that transaction with you. I'd also recommend never email sensitive client information in the clear. Always encrypted. And encryption, fortunately, is a free feature on all of the major email platforms and is usually available within 2 or 3 clicks. So it's not particularly burdensome to your communication. And then I'll also ask, back to the basics, run antivirus software such as Norton or McAfee or even Windows Defender on your desktops and laptops. And that really rounds out, there are a few more, but that really rounds out the ones that I think are most important.
And I think they're important reminders. I mean, I know I've not on any of my computers, but I've hopped on other people's computers, family members, and I see their antivirus software expired or there's no password, or maybe the password's 123 to get on. And, there's so much information on there that could be at risk. So these are really important reminders, and I appreciate you sharing them with us. For those, I see a lot of good mornings in the chat. For those of you that are tuned in live, if you have questions for Edward, type them in and we'll get to as many of those questions as we can. So you mentioned passwords. Are there tools or best practices that you recommend for password protection or for account security?
So of course, I must mention password managers. I think this is the 10th year of me evangelizing on behalf of password managers. Simply because it's made my life so much simpler, and while not compromising any security. I have my passwords to manage. I have obviously the association's passwords to manage, and I don't want to lose track or control of any of those accounts. As humans, we are just not wired to remember dozens of unique, complex passwords, and so Password Manager solves this problem by requiring you to create just one strong master password, and from then on, it securely generates, stores, and manages all of your other passwords. When you visit or revisit a website, your Password Manager automatically fills it in with no interaction or little interaction from you. And the beauty of it is that it works seamlessly across platforms, whether you're on Windows or Mac, Android or iOS. And then one of the obvious, once again, don't share passwords with anyone. Don't share passwords with anyone. I repeated that. Services like LastPass allow you to grant access, let's say in the case of an office assistant or maybe a social media manager that has to have access to one of your accounts, but it grants it in a way that does not reveal the actual password. You can safely give a colleague access to one of those accounts without ever handing over the login, and later, if necessary, that access can be withdrawn without having to prompt a password reset. And then I'd also recommend multi-factor authentication. It is something that greatly enhances your authentication process by requiring some other factor beyond the password to be submitted. And those options that are available in the space are sometimes a hardware token, a software token. You can expect a rolling code in an authenticator app, or even single-use email or text codes. But most of the more critical sites will provide multi-factor authentication, and I would suggest that you go ahead and set those up. And then finally, looking ahead, we are seeing that pass keys are the next step in authentication. They go beyond traditional passwords, and they offer stronger security with less hassle. So if you start to see you're prompted for creating a passkey on a website that you frequent, I would say go ahead and choose it. And we're seeing that password managers are quickly adding support for this new standard, making it even easier than ever to stay secure.
Excellent advice. Thank you so much. And again, I know that for a lot of people, trying to remember the password is a big thing. So they may have a Post-it note on their computer. I see those all the time. Or they have their little book of passwords. But using one of these password managers that you're suggesting is just so much more of a safe avenue to take. I assume there's fees associated with those password managers. Can you share anything about price range on that?
So I use LastPass, and for individual use, you can get a free account. For a corporate or maybe a family account, you're looking at just a few dollars a month. And so don't hold me to this, but maybe a small family account, you're looking at maybe less than $100 for the year for multiple accounts or multiple profiles on one family account. For larger business concerns, then the cost is higher, but I think well within what we can expect for a reasonable service that provides great security.
Absolutely. So how can people use public Wi-Fi or mobile devices when they're working remotely or in the field, or should we be avoiding public Wi-Fi altogether?
So that's a multi-layered question. Public Wi-Fi is often not secure, and obviously if it's not secure, it may place your data at risk if you connect to it. When we are talking about secure Wi-Fi, we're looking at, before you even looking at the browser, in the lower right-hand corner, when you go to that section in your Wi-Fi manager, it shows the available Wi-Fi networks. If there's not a lock displayed beside the Wi-Fi network name, then you can assume that it's not secure. Oftentimes, and I've had this discussion with members before, they're like, well, I went to a hotel and the website asked me to put in my last name and my room number and so on. That is not security. It's really just to keep people from leeching off of their internet connection, or to track who's getting on and off of the network. But it's not secure. Your data potentially can be passed in the clear. And if somebody that is staying at the hotel wants to carry out some type of attack, they call them man-in-the-middle attacks, they don't need your password. They can just grab a session token equivalent to a cookie, and maybe they now have access to your email, or they have access to your online banking without even knowing your password. So it's inherently insecure. I'd recommend that you don't use it, but if you must, always use the VPN. So a VPN is a virtual private network, and what it is really good at is creating a secure tunnel over the public internet, over that unsecure Wi-Fi, in which it encapsulates your data securely. So in that space, NordVPN and Proton VPN are among the top providers.
Okay, very good. And I see some links being shared for LastPass and onepassword.com in the comments. So if anybody's interested in taking a look at those, we have those links there for you. We did have a question from Shiva. She asked, is writing down passwords on your Apple phone safe? So I'm assuming maybe in like a Notes app or something like that in their phone.
So it depends. There's no such thing as safe because it really depends on what your risk is.
Yeah.
If you put it in your notes app, it's safer than writing it down on a piece of paper or an actual paper notebook. But it is something that can be viewed and accessed. Apple has a very good passwords app that is high security that I would recommend you use as opposed to writing it down just on a note. So the beauty there too is that once it's on the iPhone passwords app, then if you have a MacBook or an iMac or any of the other Apple products, then it'll be available once you're using those devices as well.
Very good. Thank you so much, Edward. And if there are any other questions for Edward, type those in and we will take a look at those. So what should someone do if they believe their account has been hacked or compromised?
First thing to think about is that you must act quickly. You're in a race against time. Hackers often change your password as the first order of business. And so hopefully prior to that incident, you've set up a recovery email. Immediately engage the password reset options and the recovery email will be key to that. And change your password right away. The next thing you want to do, because you're not quite safe yet, even if you've locked an attacker out, you want to check your email accounts for new rules that are set to automatically forward your emails to an unknown email account controlled by a hacker. Other rules that may exist as well that delete the alerts from your financial institution. So one of the risks that we found happens quite frequently is that someone reuses a password not only with their bank, but they reuse that password with their email, perhaps with Twitter, perhaps with Facebook. And in that instance, one compromised password can lead to multiple sites being accessed by a hacker. So the next step is to, depending on your the level and whether it's financial in nature, you may want to contact your bank or credit card company, but only at the number provided on the back of your card. Never use numbers from email or text, especially one that you received right around the time that you discovered that you've lost access to your account. And then alert your IT department or cybersecurity professional, depending on what's going on there, in order to start some investigation and maybe isolating that device. If you suspect that there's wire fraud involved, in addition to contacting your financial institution, you want to file a complaint at ic3.gov. It's the Internet Crime Complaint Center that is run by the FBI. They have some resources there, and they also have the reach to contact financial institutions, trace the money, and then also recover the money once it's within the United States. And the final step is monitor all financial and email accounts closely for a period beyond the date of that incident, just to see that there's no suspicious activity still ongoing.
Very good. Thank you so much, Edward. Some great suggestions. And we did share the ic3.gov in the chat. I see it's being shared a couple times there. So yes, absolutely. Please take a look at that if need be. A couple more questions and comments that just came in. Nishan said, does GoDaddy have a password manager because they subscribe to GoDaddy? They also use Outlook for their emails and use the GoDaddy server.
I'm not aware of GoDaddy using or having a password manager service. There are many password managers, so that could be a gap in my own knowledge. I'm aware of 1Password, LastPass, obviously the Apple Passwords app, and I prefer those because they've been in the business much longer. They have a much wider footprint, and they're also backed by companies that have a history of security. So not taking anything away from GoDaddy, but just a matter of preferences. Those are the ones that I recommend based on my own knowledge and experience.
Very good. Thank you. Just a comment here from Mike Wong. We were mentioning him earlier. He said that he uses LastPass because of Edward's recommendation, and it has been life-changing for his work and personal use. And he was just shouting out as well about us helping out with the safety task force. So thank you, Mike, for chiming in there, and of course your glowing recommendation. Donna was asking, how do you check to see, or can you, I guess, check to see if your email has been forwarded? So if you're sending somebody an email and they forward it off to someone else, is there a way to track that?
So there are two different forwarding options that immediately come to mind, right? So the one that I referenced was a forwarding rule that is set on your account, and not necessarily a feature where I've sent an email to you and you've then forwarded it on to someone else, because that there are two different security concerns. The one that I specifically referenced was a rule that was set up in your account that you would take, for example, if you got spam and you wanted to automatically forward spam somewhere or move it to a deleted folder. So under that premise or pretext, I'm going to answer Donna's question. If that's not correct, then she can reach out to me at cyber@har.com. The way to do that is really going to depend on the service that you're using. Even Outlook on your desktop and Outlook on the Office 365 web have different options on how you access the forwarding. So your friend here is going to be Google. Because again, Gmail has it one way, Outlook online has it another way, Outlook on the desktop has it another way. But just what you want to look for is forwarding rules. Just Google forwarding rules, and then whatever application you're using for your email, and go from there. I'm sure you'll be able to find that information. But again, reach out to us if you'd like some additional information.
Great. And I'm guessing it's probably going to be a similar answer here for Demetria. She said, or asked, what are the steps to encrypt an email? So I'm guessing this is probably different based on,
It's also product specific and platform specific. So encrypt email, your email client, put it in Google, and you'll get the steps. If you find yourself stuck, and I will say this at least 2 more times before I'm done today, cyber@har.com. We'll be happy to have a conversation with you and direct you accordingly.
Very good. Another comment here from Rhonda Power. She said, great discussion. It would be helpful to have a written version of the tips Edward shared and steps to take if you suspect account fraud. I'm sure that's something we can follow up with after this session. So thank you for that suggestion, Rhonda. Very good. She also followed up with, based on the questions, tips on how to encrypt your email, check if your email's been forwarded. So we're just going to need a whole blog post maybe from you, or maybe an article in the Houston Realtor magazine. What do you think, Edward?
Sounds great.
Yeah. So are there any cybersecurity trainings or resources that you'd recommend to HAR members?
Sure. I would direct you to the Federal Trade Commission. It has a lot of easy to digest, easy to read resources specifically geared towards the consumer. So I think we might be able to pop that link up in a moment. But just, if you Google ftc.gov identity theft and online security, there are a number of resources there. Also, in the IT department, we attend area networking and advisory group meetings to give similar presentations on requests. So if you're not a part of the area networking meeting, I would encourage you to do that, and prompt the advisory group chairs to have us come out as much as you'd like in order to get the message across and to have that dialogue. Yeah,
wonderful. And I've had the pleasure of seeing Edward present at one of those area networking meetings, and it was great and very well received. So I'm sure we have brokers that are tuning into this or listening to the replay. How can brokers help reinforce cybersecurity awareness and practices within their offices?
I think as a leader, the first thing you must do is foster and encourage a security culture, and even hold yourself accountable to it, because staff observe you and they will often do what you do. Next, maybe schedule an annual cybersecurity related training for staff. And I'll tell you from our own experience, the frequency with which we see staff mistakes occur in furthering potential attacks has been noticeably reduced. So don't downplay the importance of sessions similar to this discussion that we're having today, or even to come out specifically and target maybe 5 or so of the pain points that you may have. Because we've seen, again, over the past few years, a huge improvement. The next step is perhaps to think about engaging a security consulting practice. And you want them to help you define some cybersecurity policies and help to roll them out to your staff. Once those policies are in place, then you want to test your controls without punitive action against your staff, and encourage users to self-report if they click on something suspicious, whether it's a link or a file. If you encourage the good behavior and you lead by example, I believe you end up with the best results.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Edward, for those suggestions. Now, you've given a lot of great suggestions today, different things that we can implement and really better protect ourselves. But if there was one simple change that every realtor could make today to better protect their business, what would you suggest?
Simple. Accept all updates. Accept all updates on your mobile devices. Accept all updates on your your computers as soon as they're available. This provides the best protection against some of the most damaging types of attacks. And you'd be surprised, a stunning number of cyber attacks that are successfully carried out, they occur not because they are brand new, but due to unpatched vulnerabilities already addressed in software updates that were released to the public by the vendors, but not yet applied by the owner. There are some vulnerabilities, months or years, published with remediation steps in place or patches in place, and you'll be surprised the impact it have just because they weren't properly applied. So take all the updates.
Very good. I mean, I'm glad you said that, because I've heard people in the past say, "Oh, well, I heard you need to wait to update, wait and see if there's a bug or something like that." But it sounds like they're fixing things right as they're going. So the suggestion is to put those updates in, right?
Yeah, I've heard that, and it used to be more true than it is today. There are some risks of new types of malware, like zero-click malware, meaning that you don't even have to interact with it. I believe that in certain industries of certain high-profile individuals, your risk of a zero-click or unknown or not previously disclosed vulnerability is so great that it supersedes any risk of a bad patch. Okay, so take the update, take the patch when it's available. There are some exceptions that IT professionals will make, but they're making that decision based on their knowledge and the number of endpoints that they have to manage. But if you're just talking about 1 or 2 devices, then there's no reason not to take the updates.
Very good. Thank you so much, Edward. Well, as always, you shared a ton of great information. We've got some links in the comments for people to go check out if they need, some great suggestions for password managers as well. Is there anything else that you want to share with us today?
Yeah, I just want to take the opportunity to say to our members that we take the security of the member data seriously. We work every day to protect that data, whether it's at the point of creation, while it's in transit on our networks, or at rest on our storage appliances. And from time to time, we submit our practices for third-party review by professionals, just to ensure that we are adhering to industry best practices. We also employ role-based access controls for employees, granting only the access to systems and information required to carry out their specific job functions. And so if you hand something over to us, we take great care of it. We want to assure you that we're a partner in making sure that you're as successful as possible.
Very good. Thank you so much, Edward. Well, before we wrap up, I wanted to share, of course, you're getting a ton of thank yous in the comments here. Just a couple. Kat Robin said, great topic. Thanks for teaching us. Laura said, I think it's important to note that Edward recommends to make use of resources that have a footprint for cybersecurity. Thank you for sharing your cyber knowledge with us. And I echo that. Thank you so much, Edward, for always stepping in and helping us out and giving us some positive reminders and, of course, updates as needed. We truly appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's great being here again.
Absolutely. Well, that is it for this Member Focus Monday. We will be back next Monday at 9 a.m. with HAR's Engage Advisory Group Chair, Jeremy Fain. He is going to tell us all about the upcoming HAR Engage Conference on October 30th. So be sure to tune in. You're going to want to see that one. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.